Inner Typewriter, the show with typewriters, coffee, and conversations about making our writing better. With me is Mike Wolpert. He's the founder of Social Jumpstart, which helps small businesses and entrepreneurs build their social media presence.
That's true.
And there's marketing in there too.
There's marketing in there too, but marketing is a simple thing.
So a lot of people may not realize, a lot of writers may not realize that they need to be marketing as well, even before their book is done.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal to publishers and even getting an agent. So with that already acknowledged, there's just so much in this topic of, you know, writers are already content producers, but if they're not done with their book yet, how do they engage with their audience? How do they even build their audience? What do they talk about? And so you have an answer for that.
Sure, there's always an answer for that. Well, and part of the answer, a lot of times talking to authors about what to do on social media, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to post. That's most business people's go-to answer. You know, well, I don't really know what to post. You know, I use Facebook for my friends and I don't know what to post about business. But authors, you know exactly what to post because you tell stories. So tell a little story on social media about what you're doing. The thing to post is tell me the story about the story. If you can't divulge what's in the book, tell me why you're writing the book. Tell me who inspired you to write the book. Tell me about the process of writing. I'm interested in, you know, if you're selling a cup, that's cool, but I'm interested in other things besides the cup, right? What do you put in the cup? What does the cup sit on? How do I hold the cup? Where does the cup go? How do I clean the cup? Does it come in colors, right? So you can talk around all kinds of stuff that isn't exactly the book. And you'll begin to pick up people who are interested in what you have to say along the way. And you'll become more fluent and comfortable in the process. You know, it's not a big deal. I just went through this with a friend of mine who's a presentation specialist. You know, when you go see the big corporate events with their big fancy presentations, she does those. She wanted to start blogging. I suggested some things and she wrote a Medium post. She obsessed over it for a long time. It became painful. She finally got it out. People were like, yay. Short circuit the process by just doing what you know how to do well, which is to write a little story and put it up on social media. People are fascinated, you know.
So the writers they're writing their book. Meanwhile, they could be growing their audience, engaging people online by writing things about writing itself.
Sure.
'Cause that's what you're saying. That's the story behind the story.
The story behind the story.
Why did you become a writer?
Right, and you need to take the identity of writer too, you know. Like I see people on LinkedIn, their title is author. You may not be a full-time writer, but if that's who you are, step into that as your identity. Who are you? I'm a writer. Oh, really? What do you write about? Well, funny you should ask. I write about these things, talk about these things. So people are, so people are really interested in why you're doing this, how you're doing this, you know.
When you're doing this.
When you're doing this. When do you write? Where does this, we all have lives. I don't think anyone, if all I do is write, I get up and I write. Well, that's a beautiful thing, and I think Ernest Hemingway handled it really well. He wrote for 4 hours, drank for 10 hours, wrote for 4 hours, drank for 10 hours. But that's not the real world. So when do you write? That's a story. You know, funny you should say that. I'm a morning person. So I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I write for 2 hours. And then the family gets up and I do my thing, but boy, I had 2 hours of silence, clarity. And here's why that's so important. Now, as the reader, I'm like, wow, 4 o'clock in the morning for 2 hours, 5 days a week, for a year. No wonder I don't have a book, right? But how cool is now, what do I think of the writer?
Right.
I admire them.
Yeah.
I'm paying attention to them. I notice that it takes courage and commitment to do something. I want to be like that. So yeah, that kind of stuff is, and it's simple to do. You know?
So each writer just needs to examine their own process, their own environs and talk about that. And they may not even realize that that stuff is interesting, but you're saying
Most people think it's not interesting,
it's
and
the
they're
good
wrong.
stuff.
It's the good stuff.
Wow.
And then how do you show it? Because social media is in some ways exactly like books, but in most ways it's absolutely the opposite. Nobody wants to read the internet. They want to watch the internet and read a caption. Okay, so do that. A photo of you at your desk showing your desk, holding your cat. You got a dog and a messy desk? Take a picture of yourself holding the dog at your messy desk. You know why? Because I have a dog now. I'm like you. You're like me. I like that. I have a messy desk. You know, there's this affinity gets built. This affinity is easy to build, and now your circle, your tribe gets a little bigger. One more person, one more person, one more person.
So that's something to do on social media. What are some things that authors shouldn't do as they're wading out into these waters?
Don't be a jerk.
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out. Be cognizant of what your role on social media is. So if you're appearing on social media as an author who's writing a book, stick to your knitting. Stay in there. Don't decide Tuesdays is when I rant about politics. You know, just be consistent. Stay on topic. Be dependable. In a world where a lot is in upheaval, we're looking for dependable people that are just, so stick to it. Stay the road. You know, don't get into arguments. If you're somebody who's written a few books already and somebody engages with you on social media telling you how bad your last book sucked, say, okay. Don't feel like you need to take every battle. It's like a Yelp review. If you look at a series of Yelp reviews and there's a bad one and 10 good ones, do you give equal consideration to the bad one? No. You look and go, that person's a jerk. Who cares? So that's, you know, don't get caught up in the nonsense on social media. Just be yourself, stick to it, and be consistent around your topic.
So moving on with consistency then and having that identity, there's this brand identity that, corporations have it, companies have it. Writers can have a brand, maybe.
Writers can have a brand. I don't think that's the thing to go for. Like the idea that I'm going to create this massive brand. That's something you might go towards, but in the simplest use, a brand is something that's instantly recognizable, right? Like it's colors and a logo. It's something simple where people go, oh yeah, ding. You know, is it, oh, that great detective writer, Patterson. What's his first name? I don't know, but I sure know Patterson because they put in big freaking letters right on the top of every book. So how do you do that? The first rule of branding on social media is use a great headshot. And I've heard you ask this question, so here's how it works for me. Use a great headshot and use it consistently. Be that person. Don't cut your hair this way cut your hair that way, or wear this out for that outfit. Get a headshot, use it everywhere. I have done a couple of headshots wearing a pink shirt and a blue blazer. Here I sit. Is it the greatest identity in the world? Well, I'm not actually trying to create a special identity for me, but it is consistent. You could go look at my LinkedIn profile and I'm wearing...
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing. But you'll become known as the go-to person on this topic over time. And so I don't think, there's a couple of marketing ideas that just are a little bit more business and global than they are, so an author doesn't really have a logo, but they have a personality.
They may have a font.
They might have a font. But that's just a writer thing. That's really just a writer thing. Most people don't even know exactly what font is. But what your identity, your brand online is tell me what you write about. Because, oh, Scott's a writer. is so vague. I have no idea what to do with that. Is Scott a journalist, a cookbook author, a novelist?
Equestrian.
An equestrian? What is that? I don't even know. Equestrian, fancy word. So it's about being consistent around your topic. So if you're an author that writes about a thing, talk about that thing. Not about your book only, but talk about that genre, that topic.
But at some point, you want to be able to convert your following into actual sales.
Yes.
So when that happens, do you go all into sales mode, or do things change all of a sudden, or how do you handle when the book is done? When the book is done,
you don't turn into the car dealer and go, let's buy my book, buy my book. God, that's really annoying, even from friends. And I'm lucky, I have friends, because I think writers are really interesting people, and I have friends who are writers. And I have friends who are doing self-publishing book launches, and I buy everyone, because I'm nice. Or, I don't know, nice, like they wrote a book, they spent a year writing the book. Least I could do is spend $20 freaking dollars and buy the book and read it and go, hey, Scott, great book. But if you have created a following, a tribe, a group of people who, are part of your social media presence, and you've done it by contributing, by being interesting, by being nice, then when it's showtime, you're just going to change course a little bit, and it's not go by, it's, man, am I excited, we're at the final road, the payoff is here, finally publishing the book. I so appreciate you. I would love your help. Will you help me spread the word? You're nodding your head because in your brain, because of human nature, is going, sure, I'll help you. Can you help me? No, very few people say no. They say, yeah, sure, what can I do? Well, could you click like? Could you share? Maybe you forward my email. Would you, if you bought the book, would you go on Amazon and do some reviews? But people want to help, but all you have to do is ask. Mm-hmm. So, does that start to make sense?
You don't turn into a salesman. You just keep leveraging the audience that you already have in the sort of reciprocal village that we live in.
Sure, and because it's reciprocal, it's a perfectly logical question to say, hey, Scott, I just wrote a book on business marketing. It's called Local Marketing Superheroes, because you have the title in my head. I'm trying to get it out on paper someday. I just wrote a book. I'm super excited about it. Who do you know who might benefit? Who do you know who might be interested? Who do you know who? So what's the message? The message is, Scott, I respect you. You're of enough value to me, I could use your help. You know people that would really benefit from this book. Who do you know? Would you help me reach them? Sure. Along the way, are you going to say, hey, man, I'm one of those people too. I'd like to buy a copy of your book. Let me go on Amazon and get a copy. Probably.
Right. But that's not the first ask.
No, the ask is, can you help me? Because from a pure marketing and sales standpoint, I'd rather have 3 of your friends buy the book than just you.
That's smart.
So, yeah. And everybody has the beginnings of a tribe like that already, even if they don't notice it. It's there. We all have friends.
And the friends have friends.
And the friends have friends. The average person on Facebook has 200 connections. So if you have 10 people who are willing to be your team for marketing, those people all have 200, 300. 2,000 friends, depending how crazy they are on social media.
All right, well, we're exploring this deep and vast social media and marketing topic in bits and pieces, but we got to end here. Again, my guest has been Mike Wolpert, founder of Social Jumpstart, which helps businesses, small businesses and entrepreneurs with marketing and digital audience cultivation.
Digital audience cultivation. I got to write that down. I like those fancy writer words, Eddie. That's pretty nice. Pretty simple stuff. Meet people, talk to people, sell them a book.
It is. It's big, it's a lot, but it can be simple.
It can be simple.
What's not simple is how this Underwood functions completely analog on the inside with no electricity whatsoever. This one's from 1929. It's about 50 pounds by the feel of it. But Underwoods are great. They're kind of like the granddaddy typewriter. They look great as decor in the household or in your library. So just make sure you don't pick one up without bending your knees. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you, Mike, for being here with us. Happy typing, everybody, and don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.